Is this going to hurt or help banks, the Trump administration?
Well, I think initially the first thing that I heard was that he was trying to fill the position of the governor who would supervise the banking industry. There is a person who's doing that now named Daniel Tarullo, and Daniel Tarullo has been the most harsh, if you will, regulator that we've ever seen at the Fed relative to banks. So in essence, what I heard is he's firing Daniel Tarullo, that Daniel Tarullo is going to be pushed to the side, and he will, I think, obviously resign if this happens. That's enormously positive for banks, no question about it.
Now, who would he, by the way, who would he replace him with? Some people have mentioned John Allison, who, the former head of the Cato Institute, who just tremendously increased the value of the bank that he ran for a couple of decades.
Yeah, I think John Allison would be a phenomenal selection because I think, as most people do, that he's one of the best CEOs that the regional banking industry in the United States ever saw. But think about what he did. He took a bank and he increased the size of that bank 30-fold by making more than 100 acquisitions. And when he left the bank in 2007, it had a 5% tangible common equity to asset ratio, which, you know, the point here is he created a phenomenal institution. He added tens of thousands of jobs. He put out tens of billions of dollars in loans. And he created a bank that went through the financial crisis without ever having one lost quarter. Right. So this guy did it with 5%. He wasn't talking about 10% or 20% common equity to asset. All he needed was 5%. And he was never at risk.
Well, Dick, this gets to the real question about all these regulations we have, whether it's Dodd-Frank or the Liz Warren creation, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, all the other regulations that we've had over the past, since the financial crisis. Were those regulators, and the president in particular, looking at the wrong causes for the financial crisis?
Oh, I very definitely think that they were. I think that they should have started with demographics. They should have started with the fact that, you know, the population growth outside the United States was enormous, which cut the labor cost of producing goods, which caused manufacturing to shift overseas, which caused this huge wealth transfer out of the United States to these countries, who then reinvested that money in the United States, and there was so much money being reinvested that there were not enough good loans, and the banks certainly did a lot of bad things in that period. There's no question about it, but they didn't cause the financial crisis. The financial crisis was the result of much larger, much more important facets which have never been really discussed.
Well, here's the question we've been asking everybody with regard to Trump. Is there a way to backpedal without getting rid of those things that the banks should be forced to deal with, that they weren't dealing with before the financial crisis? Can you backpedal those regulations that have been harmful to the banking industry and finance in general?
Yes, you definitely can, and I think that what we saw today in the Journal is an indication that it might happen. He should forget trying to repeal Dodd-Frank. Just forget it. Leave it where it is. Leave all its rules where it is. What he needs to do is change the structure of the Federal Reserve, and he can do that easily. There are two positions on the Federal Reserve which are wide open right now of the 7, right? If he forces Tarullo out, which I think he's going to do, that's 3 positions he gets. He gets a shot at changing the head of the Fed, you know, in February of 2018, and the subhead of the Fed in June of 2018. So by June of 2018, he can put 5 people on that 7-person board, and those 5 people, if they have, if you will, a pro-capitalist point of view, which I don't think this Fed does, but if they have a pro-capitalist point of view, he can do an enormous amount through that organization to assist banking, to assist the economy.